recording, is that you get the JABA email, you get the password, you can reset the password if you want to. There's a document that'll come with it for Microsoft's two-step authentication, which is just seemingly a standard practice across the board for almost anything nowadays. But it does give you has a long walkthrough and a short walkthrough on how to set it up, depending if you've ever done that before. So that'll get you that. And the reason that the JABA email will be important is that when you go to the stuff that we're going to talk about today, you're going to need a JABA email to be able to see the client's information, to upload the documents that you have from the counseling session, those type of things. So 1, 2, 3. How am I missing someone here? Teresa, Dennis, Robert, George. Oh, me. I'm counting me. There we go. Okay, so let's get on to today's topic here. Today's topic is all about the mechanics of things, of how we do things. This is not the exciting part or anything. This is the just how we go about getting information you need, and then you putting information in from the point that you have finished the counseling session. So this is all just logistics here of things. So I'm going to try to make it as interesting and exciting as possible, but it is logistics. So I should be sharing a screen with you. You guys have a share screen?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so today we're going to talk about how you go from the scheduler through a hyperlink to get to the client's information. Then we're going to walk through what that client's information looks like, and how you read that, how you understand it. Then we're going to talk about what to do at the end of a counseling session, what happens at the end of one. We're going to talk about making a desktop folder, and then how to upload the documents that you have saved, and how to fill out the counselor intake form that you will fill out to say what happened in the counseling session. It's all very logistical things. So we're going to start out, and we're just going to look at the scheduler here for a second and how to get from point A to point B. So I'm going to be changing screens quite a bit here. So I'll have to stop share and then reshare a second here. So as we've talked about, this is the scheduler here, and counselors put themselves in over on the left-hand side of any given day, and then a client is scheduled for you by the admins. See ones down here too. So here, all we need to know today is this little link in column K that has the client's name and their number that's in our database here. This will get you to the client's information. So if I click on that, it will open up a new window with the client's information. We're going to look at the client information, but that's how you get to see what your client is. Boom. The first time you do this from your computer, when you flip over into the client's information, you will have to log in with your JABA email address. So now I want to close those for a second. I'm going to open one up here because what Colt has done for us, hang on a second, is that he has made us a bunch of fake clients to look at today. So I'm going to just pick up the first one here, open it up. Come on, buddy. Okay, I didn't know. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to share that one. So this is what you will see with a client. It will come up. It will have a couple of things at the top that we'll cover here in a second. But then it's going to have the client's name and number. It will have a link to get into the database for this, but this is how you've gotten here. But the big things are how they've requested an appointment, the basic demographics for this client, if they have a representative, their Medicare insurance coverage, which would be what they're on currently. If they are any Medicare benefit savings programs or Medicaid, and we know about it, it'll come up here. Other insurance, there may be information here. Then this is where we get very important, my Medicare account, and it will have their Medicare number and their username and password. Obviously, this is all a fake person and none of this is real. And then it will have the pharmacies and their prescription list. And then it will have notes from if any previous counselor put in notes. And at the end here, it does have if there's a discrepancy from what they filled out and what the database has in it. So now I got that just in the general idea. Let's walk it down through as if I was a counselor. And for people like George or so, you've seen this before or similar to it. So, it'll tell you that if they've had an appointment before here, but what is the purpose of this appointment? Well, they have marked, and I put this out, they have marked that they're, here for Medicare open enrollment for this. They've put in what kind of appointment types they've requested. It doesn't necessarily mean that's the one they're going to end up with. Clients you're going to see are going to be in person, and the date of the intake form. Again, there's a lot of information on it, but there's, like any form, there's important stuff to notice or not. All of this at the top is just sort of, you sort of scan by, you're like, okay, I've got their name and I've got their physical address here and their date of birth, which become important here, and their age, gender, veteran status can become important if you can ask about VA benefits, but just general information, marital status it's important. Some of this stuff, when it gets to live with, living situations, referred by, that's all stuff that's just in our database from the state and not pertinent necessarily to counseling. Their income level here that they've marked down may become important if we're looking at things like LIS or Medicaid. This person here should be under the LIS limit from what they said. Now, remember, the LIS is trying to figure out the gross income, not the net income. And we will have times that clients will fill out net income or estimated income, where they'll just put in what they get in Social Security and not what they get in pension or anything like that. So as we cruise along and we look at this client in Medicare, we might be looking to see if they're on LIS and then asking questions about if they should be on LIS. Now, this person doesn't have a representative. And we get down and we know they're on Medicare, and the dates they started Medicare has been a while ago, 11 years ago. They say they're on a Medicare drug plan, or it's in our database and they're on this plan currently. Sometimes if they filled this out, that may or may not be accurate, but once you go into their Medicare account, that will give you a more accurate information about it. They say that they're not on LIS, so that stood out to me. And then, even if they had additional insurance and stuff, not necessarily pertinent to open enrollment. But now that I'm down here, this is where it's like, okay, so I would go into the Medicare website and I would try their username and password to get in to see then about their data. And once we're in, and we talked about this in the last session, once you're in, you're able to see exactly what prescription drug plan or possibly an Advantage plan or whatever that they're in. And we'll see if Medicare has it marked that they have LIS. That's all comes up when we go into the Medicare account. And then we've got their drug list that they have given us, and they've done a pretty good job of giving us the milligrams and the amounts per month. And so this is a good drug list to start with. Again, if we go into their account, this drug list they gave us should match up, 75, 80% of it should match up. Okay. But we'll get into those next training session when we sit down with the plan finder. Right now, we're just trying to read this. We do see that Karen Schumacher last year changed her to a new Part D plan from the plan that she was on. So we know that this person's gone through open enrollment before and done things. And I know this is really a fake client because this says method contact Zoom, and that Karen always does in person. So it's really a fake client. So Colt has made this up for us. So let me close that one. And I'm just going to open, he's made several for us to just look at things. Like anything else in life, the more you look at these, the faster, the faster you get at it, and the better accurate you are at reading these things. And again, the data you'll be getting is fresh out of the database.
Randy,
yeah, George?
Go
ahead.
Yes, James. If there are discrepancies between what we see on the Medicare site and the form, is that on us to communicate that to you, or how does that?
Yes, it is. And one is that you will be correcting some of that stuff when it comes to your intake form at the end of the counseling session. Okay. If there are discrepancies, especially if there's discrepancies between whether you think they should have LIS and they do have LIS, that's something you want to pull somebody over right away and work with, because that's going to affect the rest of the counseling session. We have a second person here, an Erica Elephant. Again, information up front. Got their name. They have their address, birth date, age, and phone number. This birth date comes in really handy if you are having trouble logging in, or you need to set them up at a Medicare account, which we'll talk about in the next training too. But this person's married, their income, it's like, okay, well, that's right in sort of the middle of the road. That's not going to be a problem, one up or down. We've got their Medicare information. What they're supposedly on a Walmart or Humana a prescription drug plan. And again, we have their username and password to come in, and their drug list. And they've done pretty good about giving us a good drug list here. This is, again, fake stuff, but counseling. Looked like they had a Medicare counseling thing a long time ago, and setting up their Medicare, and haven't. Now, if they've been back with us like every year, this will just keep showing up. It'll have 2, 3, 4 the appointments there. So you'll be able to kind of watch a history of what's happened on here. And then there was some discrepancy on the intakes. This may or may not be, I guess, mean that something might have been wrong in our database to start with, but it's nothing that, because it's nothing of, if there was a discrepancy in the username and password and that showed up, this becomes really handy if you're having trouble getting in with your username and password. And it's like, well, let me try the other one. So so you're able to look at this. Now, if I was, stop sharing here for a second, and I'm going to set something up here. Whoops, I was in the wrong place. Come back here. And Medicare, whoops. If I was doing a client for real, I would have my computer looking like this. Where I have the client's intake form on the left side of my screen and my Medicare site, actually it's really big, my Medicare site on the other side, so that I could sit here. And again, I was playing with a fake client over here earlier today, not the same one, but I could sit there and make sure my drug list is matching up, and see how that works out. It's really easy to do side by side when you're walking through here with the client's intake form on one side, and I've got the username and password, and I'm sitting here on the other side. Now, I will say most people who operate computers aren't used to doing this. And this is a little trick we'll work on next training session when we're in person. But all you have to do on a PC is on the keyboard in front of you, you push down the little Windows button and the left to right arrows, and it moves the things left and right. And just opens them up. So if this was sitting here like this, and I hit down my Windows and move it over here, it moves it to the right side of the screen when I hit the right button. And so you can get split screen real easy. We'll go over that and practice that in the next training session, but I'll just show you. This is how, George.
On the intake form, the last item where you have discrepancies,
Yeah.
when we notice discrepancies, we don't actually enter anything in the intake form. We put that on our counselor form. Is that right? And
That's correct. It's going to be, you'll fix that at the end.
Okay. But I mean,
Yeah.
we don't change the intake form at all. We're just
you don't have the ability to. It's a form that's pulled from the database, but it's still just a PDF form. Okay. Well, it's not PDF, but it's like that. It's a non-changeable form. Good question, George. Okay. So walking through the intake form, we'll practice that next week as far as just going through and looking through it. But this is what it's going to look like. It's going to give you a lot of information, but when it boils down to a counseling session, the big ones end up with is there a username and password for you to get in, and then the drug list. And those are the big ones. The other pieces of information will be helpful to you in looking for things, but the two majors are those. So let me come back to my PowerPoint here. See, stop sharing, and then come back to my PowerPoint. Okay, so we've just walked through there. Now, one of the things that you're going to want to do when you're counseling, and again, you're going to be counseling in person, is before you start the counseling session, you're going to make a desktop folder for the clients you're going to see. This makes it easier when you're doing it. Now, let me show you what I mean by this. Do, 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 do. Stop there for a second. Get. Okay. So first, I'm going to show you my desktop here. Do, do, do. So on your desktops at the mall, you're going to have a folder called a client folder. And if I open up the client folder, you guys see that I have made for me today my clients for today. So that doesn't quite make sense yet, but let me make it make sense here. Oops. Okay, stop sharing. I'm going to come back to my client 101. Okay. And I'm going to put this on one side so I can do this on the other side. Then I'm going to share it. Sharing screens here. I have my client Elephant, Mr. Elephant here, and my client number is 90101. So I went in this morning and I made me a client.
Hi.
90101, comma 10 15 24. So there you go. So I'm going to make these up. Let me do a little bit here on my. So there's a simple formula with this. I'm coming back to my PowerPoint to show you the formula. You have to dance between things here. And start from the slide. There's a little bit of jumpy between. Okay. So in your client folder, you're going to make the client, your client number, comma, and the date. And we're going to put dashes in here because slashes don't work in a file system. It'll yell at you and say if you try to put slashes. So I want to put that together, and then I'm going to make another folder, and I'm going to make stars. Okay. And I'll explain the stars here in a second. And coming back over to this share. So if I was going to make a client folder, whoops, how would I want to do? New client folder 90103, comma 10 10-15-2024. And then inside of that, I'm just going to make me another new folder and call it stars. And then I have made my folder for the day for this client. So when I get stuff for this client, I already have my folder and can put it in the folders. And there's been different versions of this over the years of how to walk this through, but then we finally figured out this makes life so simple for you when you have your client folder ready at the beginning of the day. And then when it's set up this way, to put it into where you need to put it in the file systems, all you have to do is drag it in and it's already done. Where I used to go through, it was pages of do this and do that and do this. And then it was like, oh, wait, no, it's very simple. Just all you got to do is make this to start with. And then the rest of your day becomes real easy. So we set those up, and I'm going to come back to that in a second because that will be important in the next stage. So So we
Randy, maybe
get,
get to this, but so we sit down at the computer, the client folder, will there be client folders from previous sessions or do they go away at the end?
I try to go through at the end of the day at the mall and clear out the ones from the day
Okay.
before,
So
so
we
that
won't
so
find
it's
a
not
bunch of
messy.
client.
Yeah, so it's not messy.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but we do keep it all inside of. Hang on, let me back up here 1 second. Come on. Okay, desktop. There we go. We do keep a client folder, and then you keep your subfolders in there, only because when a new client walks up, you don't want them to be having to, seeing other client folders on the desktop. Yeah, so just a little bit of privacy. So I want to jump back to here's the counseling session, and then it'll come back to why I did that setup first is because you're going to do that first when you first sit down at the computer, and then you'll see how it works here in a second. Because when you get to a client at the end of a counseling session, it's going to end in one of two ways, and only one of two ways. The client doesn't change plans, or the client does change plan. It's the only options, in a sense, if it boils down to a very simple thing. The client left, staying on the same plan, or not decided that they're going to change plans. So they're just they don't change plans. And then, or they did change plans. So now, if a client, depending on that, here's what documents you save. And we were just working earlier this morning on, there'll be a little piece of paper attached to the side of your screen at the mall telling you exactly this, to remind you this is what you do. So if the client doesn't change plans, all you're going to do is save the plan details of the plan that they're going to be on next year. And if the client does change plans, you're going to save the details of that new plan for 2025. And you're going to save the plan details of their current plan's version of 2025. And as you go through the enrollment process, and we looked at this last week, is you're going to have review and submit is going to be the next to last page. And I'm going to show you an example of one of those here in a second. You're going to save that. And then you're going to click submit, and it's going to give you the confirmation page, and you're going to save that. So you'll end up with 4 saved documents if the client changes plans. So
saving means print a PDF and save the PDF.
Yeah, save a PDF of it. So we're going to do that right now. So if I have my client here, let me bring up the share. Split screeny things. Get rid of that. Put this back up into place so you can see it there. Nice. Okay, do you guys see side by side here? Okay, so I've gone through here and I've added my drugs. I've added my pharmacies. Come on. Come on. I'm clicking done and it ain't going nowhere. There it goes. And now it's giving me plans. And it is dragging. So there we go. And let's just say this AARP was this last year's plan, next year's version of it. So I'm going to click on the plan details. I have no idea why my internet is like dogging today. Here we go. Because I did this earlier and it just went boom, boom, boom.
Mine's been dogging at home this morning too.
Yeah.
Might be a broader problem. Do you have Ting?
Yeah. No, No, we don't here. We have Comcast here. But nonetheless, so I'm going to go to print. And it's going to offer me printers and all this stuff. And let's just say it was sitting on this printer, and that's your printer. You're going to that, but you want to go to save PDF. So just close that. And then when I hit save, it's going to ask me what I want to do. And so I made up this client here. Whoops. Let's see. I just made up a client. That one I had done previously. So we're going to make up here. We're going to save for here. So this is my client. The only thing I want to do is I want to put the client number at the beginning of this document, and I'm going to save it. And off it goes. And then I'm going to go back to plan details again. And hopefully our computers are moving much faster than this. There you go. Yeah, I don't know what this is about today. I've never seen it move this slow at the office. Come on. Sorry. Get stuff out of my way here for a second. Really? Okay, well, I can move on from this and show you this because I would have saved, print and saved that also. So now can you, one here. There we go. So what ended up, can you see my, see a bunch of, I'm inside of a folder now. And I need to stop share and reshare for that to go in the right space. There we go. So what I had done earlier was I had saved all my documents, my 4 documents. I have my old plan, and I have my new plan, vice versa. And when I went to enroll, I saved this, which we talked about the last one, which is your review and submit. This is a fake one, obviously, where I've taken all the information out. But this is the personal information that says review and submit. This is everything we typed in. And then we have the confirmation, you're all set. Here's your code. You've enrolled in this plan. So I end up with 4 documents here. I'm going to make those bigger, but it won't make bigger. Now, and we'll do this a lot next week, is 3 of those documents, everything except the review and submit, get put inside of the stars folder. And what happens there is when we report to SHIP about what we did, they get a copy of those documents, the old plan, the new plan, and the application, confirmation here. So again, all of this of like where to put this is going to be sitting on the side of your computer in a little cheat sheet saying where to put these 4 documents. But to answer the question from earlier, it is where you just hit print and save PDF. That's, what you do there. Including on that document, on a little cheat sheet, will say, this is what you really print out for the client. because the client only needs to take away two things. If they've enrolled in a new plan, they need the confirmation sheet that they enrolled, and they need the plan details of the plan they're going to be on, the one we just enrolled them on. So that's all that they physically need to walk away with. If they did not change plans and they're going to take next year's version of their plan, all they need is a printout of the plan details for that next year's version. So that's all you're going to print out. And that's 90-some% of your clients are going to fall into that category. I will say you're going to have the other one that's going to walk out where they probably need to change plans, but they need to think about it, make a decision, talk to somebody else about it or so. At that point, you can print out, here's what your plan will be next year if you don't change plan, current version plan of 2024-25's version of their 24 plan. And here's the plan that you probably should be enrolling in, or we think you should be enrolling in 25. So they'll walk away with two plan details, one, so they can take that and show somebody or think about it or compare or so. So in the end, you're just making PDFs of either one document if they are not changing plans, or 4 documents if they are changing plans, and you're going to walk through that. And you're going to have a cheat sheet there to say, put all of them into the stars folder, and all of them except for the review and submit. And you just put that there. Now, this is why it was made life a little simpler when you set up the client's folder with the stars folder inside to start with. Because now when you're saving PDF, you're saving it to the place you want it to be. What we've had in the past is people would save PDFs onto the computer somewhere, and then they get done with the client, or they get done with all their clients at the end of the day, and they're trying to find those correct files and put them in the right folders. And it was like, well, it's much easier if you just make the folders to start with, and then when you save them in the right place, and you don't have to do some sort of mental gymnastics and file sorting at the end of the day. So that makes life a little easier when it comes to that. Now, watch this. I'm going to get my, okay, I'm going to pull up 2 things, and then I'm going to put it, give me 1 second to get this all into the correct thing. Eric Elephant is here. And 1 second, just to make sure I have it all set up here correctly. And that way. Okay, there we go. Just had to do a little, make sure all the things looked right before I did it. Okay, so now I have my client here. This was Mr. Elephant here, the 90101. And I'm just saying that Mr. Elephant here, Ms. Elephant, did not change plans. And so I've got just this file folder for here. And then they need to, so we've got that. So we don't need anything in stars because we didn't change plans, which I didn't touch before, but I'm saying it now. If you don't change plans, nothing needs to go into stars. But again, that'll be on your cheat sheet. So I have a complete folder here for Mr. Elephant. And now I have Mr. Elephant opened up here in SharePoint to do that. So all I got to do is move. Whoops, where did that just jump the wrong place? Come back to Mr. Elephant here. Come on, Mr. Elephant. This is a little sandbox. There it is. So Mr. Elephant, his entire folder and the files we had in it just got moved in just by me dragging it over and dropping it in. And I didn't have to do anything crazy.
Well, what does the name STARS mean, or what does it represent?
Stars is the database name for the SHIP program, for the overarching federal program.
Okay.
And that's why we put it in stars. It used to be that we would have to manually enter all the data from the intake forms into the stars and move the file folders in manually and everything. But then we have Colt, who is our volunteer in our department, who runs our database systems. And he has it so he's got little programs that just uploads this stuff directly into there, and we don't have to sit there and manually fight the database of stars. So that's why you make the folder for stars, so Colt's little program knows, oh, let me upload those 3 files into the right place in the stars, instead of us having to manually do it for every file folder. The computer just does it for us. So that's cool. Yeah. So,
Randy, the stars folder inside the client folder, is that what you said? Okay.
Yep. So I have my client folder, which is labeled by the number and the date, the client number and the date here. And inside of it is a stars folder. So inside of every client folder is a stars folder.
Okay.
Whether or not we throw anything into it just determines whether they change plans or not. If they didn't change plans, we don't put anything in it. If we do change plans, then we put stuff in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you don't want us, Randy, you don't want us to put the client number on that stars label.
No, it doesn't need to be. No.
Okay. Thank you.
No. Absolutely.
Randy,
Yes.
could you go through how do we open the SharePoint and also just go through again how do we locate which folder in SharePoint we're moving the client information into?
Very good questions here. So let me go to, I'm going to open a real person here for a second, but then I'm going to change it here real quick, because I'm going to use, let's where'd my little thing go here. Ah, there it is. I'm going to change the client to this. So that's Lenore. So in a real client, up here at the top, you have 2 kind of blue things. The second one is upload PDF saved during appointment to SharePoint for Lenore. And when I click on it, it opens up Lenore's, and then I can drag my folder in. So you don't even have to go searching through the database anymore to find Lenore's folder. It automatically takes you there. So, okay. So that gets us through how do I upload things. Good. And which is, that's a big part. We've done our counseling session. We've saved our folders, our PDFs. We've put them in the correct folder in our desktop inside of the client folders. And then we've moved them into the clients. You can see somebody did, here's Lenore's from last year, or from 2021. And hers got moved in. So that's all good. So now we've got those in there. So then the last thing that we're going to do is then we're going to go and we're going to fill out our counselor intake here. So all you would have to do for your client is click on the top one, and it would open up a counselor intake form for that client. And it's going to pre-fill out some of the stuff for you.
Is this at the beginning or the end of the meeting?
This is at the very end when you're done with the client. The client is left. Okay. So I'm going to stop share here for a quick second. We've been pushing at this for about 50 minutes or so. This is going to be kind of long little walkthrough here. It's going to take us a good 20 minutes or so. So I want to take a quick break for people to get a drink of water, coffee, go to the restroom or so, and we'll come back in 5 minutes. We'll hit this. And this is the last thing that we need to do in today's training, is to walk through how do you fill out the form you have to fill out saying what happened in the appointment. Okay, so take 5 and we'll come right back.
Randy, can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
I'm going out of town the end of this week and won't be back until October the 7th. So I'm going to miss the in-person training. So how do I make up for that?
Here is what you're going to do. We were just talking about that this morning, going, let's come up with a better plan. So at any point, let's say, it's October 8th, 9th, 10th, or even we've started and it's October 15th, 16th, 17th. We're already in. Somebody comes back that's been away and needs to kind of get caught up. Well, over at the mall doesn't start till 11 o'clock in the morning. And so Lenore and I and others will be over at the mall. What you can do is that we can schedule you. You can email us and we'll schedule you with a time earlier in the day, at 9 o'clock today, to sit down with Lenore in Lenore's office one-on-one and catch you up on anything that you've missed.
Perfect. Thanks.
Okay.
Right.
Same
So
thing,
I'll just
Susan.
be in touch. Then should I just email you when I get back in town?
Yeah. Or you can email me sooner and say, hey, I'm going to be gone. Can we schedule something for when I get back? Yeah. However you want to do that.
Okay. One other quick question. Before you went to your conference, I had finished the certification exam, and I think her name's
Linda.
Barnhart sent me 2 different copies of the confidentiality agreement, and she was asking you, which one do I sign? I just want to get all this taken care of before I leave town.
Can you resend me? Can you forward that email again to me? This was something that I was talking with the director at the conference, because it's a change. In years past, everybody filled out one. There was only one. But now there is one for newer counselors and one for veteran counselors. And so I need to see both documents, and then I will send everybody out the document that they need to be filling out. But this was a change. This was a change that happened right before the conference. And I go, well, I'm going to find this out when I'm at the conference, is going, what are we supposed to be doing with this? Because this is new. So
I'm in the same boat.
You're in the same boat. Just give me if Catherine, if you can forward me the email so I have both of those in front of me.
I will do that right now.
Then I can fire it out, the right one, to everybody, have them sign it and get them back and send them back to me, and then I will send them all to the state.
Okay, because the instructions said for us to send them to the state as well.
Yeah, it is, but I think it's better for me to keep it organized and the state getting multiple copies of it if I collect them all and send them all.
Got it. One last thing. She said that the 2 different forms were because to answer the question whether we needed a unique CMS ID. So we use one form if you say we need that, and another form if we don't.
That's correct. New counselors, and I don't know why this is, and George's been around a while with this too, is used to be every counselor gets a unique ID number. It allows you to call a special number at Medicare that's sort of the back door, so you can get right in and you get an expert when you have a question for Medicare. If you're running into a problem with a client that is gotten, something, it's like, oh, we need to talk to Medicare to find out whether or not they really do have LIS or something like that. So it's useful. But in the last couple of years, they've cracked down saying, well, not every counselor needs this. And I don't know why they think that this is a resource that has a limit, like they can only give out so many, because it doesn't seem like it's, that crazy. But now they're going, can you tell us what counselors will really need? Now, if you're doing open enrollment and that's all you're doing, the likelihood of you having to call the S&P hotline with that SHIP ID number is very rare. And if it was, one of us would be standing there anyhow and be using ours. And so it's like, okay, so year-round counselors or really veteran open enrollment counselors have been doing this for years. They're going to get the SHIP ID numbers, and then the regular people like yourselves that are just doing open enrollment, since they're being stingy with giving them out, we don't feel like
Thanks.
but
Thank you
they've
for all the
never
answers.
explained to me properly of why they suddenly became stingy with handing those out. So
Yeah, I think
because it's really useful. You don't use it all the time, but when you need it, it's really useful.
Got it. Thanks again.
Several confidentiality forms and send them back to you.
Right. Well, you got one confidentiality form for JABA.
Yeah.
That's important. And then you're going to have one for the SHIP program. And it's going to be one of those two. And I want to send them back out.
Back by now.
Yeah. It's and that's why I said they needed to figure this out before they started saying people needed to sign it. But I had to pull the director aside at the conference and go, what's going on and what do you want done? And she had to think it through and then told me. So, because it was like, really, this wasn't that complicated when we just gave it to everybody. So apologize for that, but that's not, unfortunately, not in my control. There are sometimes, and we try to avoid it, that hoops that you have to jump through that I see as unnecessary. One of the hoops that you will, since we're on this, one of the hoops you will jump through is periodically, you'll probably get it once, is you'll get a email security training from the company that oversees the security training for JABA. And because you have a JABA email, you'll get one of these. They're usually 10 or 15 minutes, to walk through. But they're like, oh, yeah, you have a JABA email address. You need to do it. I go, look, these guys are volunteers and they're only doing, but we have no control over who they send it out to. So, occasionally they send out little like tests, like, are you going to fall for our trap? That happened once or twice a year. You get an email, and whenever they do it, I get bashed with emails from all of my volunteers going, did you see this email? This looks suspicious. I don't think I should open this.
Yeah. The problem I had last week was that I took the test, passed the test, sent everything back to the person, and I'm pretty sure I copied you and somebody at the state. I don't know. And it was, she sent me an email back. I had to take the security training or the confidentiality training in the training modules.
Right, which we assigned.
And I took it under your ID, so she had no record that I actually had taken it already.
Same situation with me.
Yeah, and I said, I already took that. I don't have to take it again. And I took it under Randy's ID.
Yeah, and okay, I'll talk with Linda about that too.
So that was a problem.
Their problem is that they want to know, they want you to be ready to take the test before they give you an account to take the training. And I'm like, it's words, this all get out. Why couldn't we just set you up with an account when you first volunteered? But then they're like, well, we don't want that many people in there. It's like they don't think through their processes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
I went in and just I got the same thing from Linda, but I went back into that privacy module and just went right to the test and just retook the test. Took me 30 seconds. And then that showed that I had done it under my own login.
that's pretty smart. That's pretty smart. Yeah, I get
I
this
actually
problem with,
offered to do that, and she said, "Don't bother. I'll talk with Randy." So
yeah, I I the, I run this process with state DARs and everything. I mean, I've got a database that for the state that I have to get in that has nothing to do with this. And I took the security training twice this summer, and then they locked my account saying you didn't take the security training. I go, I've taken it twice. So they sometimes don't have their act together on those things. So apologize for that. Let's get into come back to the this is what at the end of when you're done counseling. And when I say you're done counseling, it may mean you've got time to fill this out right after your counseling. But that one, where it may mean that you're going to scratch down a few notes, and then at the end of the day, you're going to fill this out because your next client is ready there. So it's okay. It's not something that you're like going, well, that client's got to wait till I get through this thing because it's, you can do this later. As I said, when you do when you're doing a live person and you've come in, you can click and come right to it, and it's going to pre-fill out a couple of things. It's going to fill out their client ID number and their last name and first name for you, which anything that has a red star is a required field to fill out. Now, it's going to have a lot of questions here about corrections. If you needed to correct the last name or the first name, you could fill it out, but these are not required fields, obviously. And then it's going to ask, do you have any other client information to add or correct? This has to do with the client's email address, street address, post office address, zip code or things. If I click yes, it's going to walk me through a series of, well, are you correcting the middle name, the suffix, the physical address, the city, the zip code, the county? You don't have to fill out anything that isn't a correction. Okay. And then it's going to ask, do they have the same physical address, or do they have do they get their mail differently? If I click differently, it's going to give me the options of filling out a address for their mailing address. And this is just for if it's a correction or we didn't have it before. I'm going to back up here and I'm going to go, okay, well, okay, so I clicked yes. I filled out any corrections. It's the same. And now it's going to take me to, do I need to change their date of birth, their gender, their phone number, their email, their monthly gross amount, their marital status, these little questions that are really just for the state database, ethnicity or race, primary language, if I'm correcting any of those things. Now, when it comes to this, the ethnicity or race and things like that, if there's obvious correction or they want to correct this, you can correct this out. It doesn't mean as if we had no ethnicity on them and they're sitting in front of you and you can take a good guess at what their ethnicity is. You don't need to fill this out. If they didn't give us their ethnicity in the first place, that's fine. But if there is a correction on it, then you want to come in here and correct it. And then if I hit next, okay, I'm going to get to was there a representative. But let me go back, because this is designed well in the sense of this is, I'm back to the front page, is if there are no corrections, it's just going to jump to your next set of answers, which is going to jump you to here. Was the client present? Yes. If they were not there at all and somebody was representing them, then you could click this. However, it could be that they were there and they had a representative. But both of these have to be filled out one way or the other. And if there was a representative, it's going to ask for you to put in the name and stuff like that. If that information is already in our database, if it was on the intake form, you don't need to correct it or anything. It will ask is if the representative's phone number and address is the same as the client's.
Hey, Randy,
Yes.
if there's a no-show, do you still have to do a form?
No. If there is a no-show, I will come back to that and show you that. Remind me to show you the no-show things, but you don't have to fill out a form at all. Okay. If the representatives is not the same, it'll come up and ask for the representative's information. Again, most of the time that information is already going to be on the sheet and doesn't need to be corrected. So, or added, you know. So you'll end up with this page where it's asking for the appointment date. Now, if I go back here, and I click that the client was present and there was no representative, it's just going to skip over all that representative stuff and bring us right to here. Now, you could type in the date of the appointment. It's going to have your names here. Again, if I start typing in that field, it's going to start bringing it to that spot. Oops, sorry. So there's me. That's required field. And then it's going to ask for the purpose of appointment. What the client says that they were initially coming in for and what actually happened can differ. They may mismark it. But if they come in, most of the time what you're going to be getting is that you came in and talked about Part D. You are not allowed to select more than one. What is the primary purpose of this appointment? They came in for open enrollment to look at their Part D. So if you talked about LIS, that's great, but the primary purpose of that appointment was Part D. Make sense? And most of the time it's going to be Part D. Manner of the appointment, office, off-site location, that's where any in-person is going to be. So, you know, it's going to make up your guys' things. And I hit next. Now, it's going to ask me, and again, this is not a required field, but it's going to say, hey, were they on Medicaid or something like that? And, you know, if nothing was major happening, you don't have to come through and start checking no for all this stuff. It's really more about checking yes, that, oh, wait, we found out that they were on LIS. We now know, so now it'll mark that they're LIS. Or maybe they had marked that they were LIS and we found out they're not. Then we can click on that. It's not necessarily a box that you have to go through and click everything on. If they were on Medicaid and they pulled out their Medicaid card and we didn't have it, you could put the Medicaid number in there. If they pulled out their Cardinal Care plan, you could put that in there. They have to be on Medicaid to have this. If you were applying for LIS, or if, this is important, or if they looked like their income was LIS level, but when you started asking questions and found out that they had $20,000 in the bank, their assets were over, you can click this. That lets us know, oh, okay, no, they really were not LIS eligible. So, but again, this is only as if we were really looking into whether or not they were going to have LIS. So a lot of times you'll cross this whole page for most clients and never touch a thing. Now, this is important. Is it a married person or a non-married person? And the reason why it's important, and again, your intake form will tell you most of the time on this, but you'll click yes. And then if they've given you income, you can mark that, oh, they said they had $3,000 a month, and you can click it. If they were married and we hit next, these numbers change to represent married income. And we can click that.
So married includes income from both individuals,
Yes,
but each person applies for a married couple could be on a different plan, no?
that's correct.
Each person?
But what we're checking right here for this section is what is their income level. And when it comes to programs that they may qualify for, whether that be Medicare savings programs, whether that be Medicaid or LIS, they're counting married couples' income together.
Okay.
That's what we're looking. Good question. That's what we're looking for here. Again, it won't let you go by without selecting one of these two, but it will let you get by here if it's like, I don't know, they didn't tell me what the income was, you could go by. Or a lot of times it's like level is unknown, but they don't qualify for Medicare savings programs or anything because we've showed them the chart and they've gone, oh, wait, no, I'm above that. And you can go through there. Again, this is correcting information that might be wrong or that we didn't have. Their Medicare number, you don't have to come through and fill all this out. If the information's already right on our intake form, yeah, this is a good form to be filling out left and right with their, oops, get over there, with their intake form over here. Did those both come up on your screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. So, because then you could go, okay, we have the Medicare number. Okay, good. We had their username or password, or hey, the username and password is wrong and we had to reset something. So this is where correct this out here. Good. My Medicare account, and this is, you just click this if you had to set up their account for them while you were there.
Randy, was there any thought of ever scanning their Medicare card? Either to have it imaged or
no,
even
in a
to
sense of we don't
capture
have that technology.
Okay, all right.
We don't have it. Plus, the fact is, anything we need to have certain pieces of information about their Medicare, but we're not even comfortable having it in the first place. It's like we don't want to be, but it's sort of necessary for us to be able to function in what we're doing. So, we don't want to take more information than we need to, especially back in the day when their Medicare number was their Social Security number. That was not happy. Now, it's going to ask you some questions here about original cost of plan, new drug plan, how much money we saved. Now, this is if they changed plans. We're going to be filling out something here. So remember how we talked about that we boil it down to one number and we get it down to what's the cost of paying their premium and picking up their prescriptions. So if they go, okay, well, I think we're going to be getting our prescriptions at CVS or so, and on their original plan, the plan they would be on if they didn't change, their total amount comes up to, at CVS, for the plan and the and paying the premiums of $1,025.63, and the new plan is going to be, $878.10.
And that's an annual cost, right?
That's an annual cost. Yeah. And so that means that we save them, subtracting one from the other, We get $147.63. 53 cents. I don't know why that's 53 cents. I mistyped. And so that's how you would fill that out. Now, granted, sometimes you're going to have clients that are going to go pick up 2 drugs at CVS and 3 drugs at Walmart. You just pick one of them and go with it. It doesn't, you don't have to do the, cross pollination matrix of that. Just pick CVS or Walmart and go with it. Okay. So, and that's how you would fill that out. Again, we're going to talk next training a little more in details about this, as you have to do it physically with, client's information. But that's simply how you would fill it out. Now, if they did not change plans, you will notice that this little question here requires you to fill it out. And if they didn't change plans, you just put a 0 in it.
Couldn't they save money because the plan improved from the prior year?
Good question. The number we figure out from savings is not comparing 2024 to 2025. It's comparing what your plan would be in 2025 to what your plan is going to be in 2025. That's the comparison of the price amount. Because guess what? It's irrelevant how much they paid in 2024 to their prices in 2025. It's just, this is what you're going to pay. You're not saving or losing money or things necessarily. This is what you're going to be paying in 2025. So we're only comparing 2025 to 2025.
Okay.
Good question. So, but if you, I'm going to come back to the share screening thing here. If you are comparing, that is said, if they don't change plans at all, they're just staying on their same plan, you're going to just mark the 0 in here. It'll let you go by. It will ask you if you're deducting this from the Social Security check. You'll know that when you get done with yes or no. If they're not changing plans and you don't really know, you don't have to fill this out. But if you do know, that's a good one to fill out. Medicare disability, that's somebody who's going to be on Medicare under 65 and they're on a disability. You're not on Medicare disability from the moment you turn 65. You may have a disability, but you're not on Medicare disability. You're just on Medicare. Okay. But again, that's just informational thing. As you can see, a lot of this is important or not important. The Medicare prescription drug plan. This is the plan. If we say this, what coverage does the client have at the end of the appointment? Meaning, starting January 1, what will they be on? Not what they're on when they walked in the door. So you're going to click here. It's going to give you all the options, and you're going to select the one that they have for next year. It's that simple. It is going to ask if they have a Medigap. Again, this is really for year-round counseling. If they happen to pull out their plan and you see that they have a G plan, that's great. It'll probably already be marked on there. If we already know it, it will be marked. Again, this is fixing corrections or putting in additions. You could put in the Medigap, they have United Healthcare. Again, nice little information, but not, it's not vital to what you're doing in open enrollment. If they're on the state retirement plan of Advantage 65, you can mark that if you know that. If they're a federal health employee, they're here, which brings up a very good thing to know. If somebody sits down with you and they are a federal retiree or they pull out a card that says FEHB on it or so, you are calling us over because they are their situation is a lot more complicated, and most likely they don't really need to be sitting down with us anyhow. So, but you will have people slip through the cracks. They'll see advertisements and they're like, "Oh, I need to get an appointment with JABA." If they're on a federal retiree plan, they're outside of your knowledge base to talk to them about. Or if they're on TRICARE for life, they don't need to be seeing us at all because they have prescription plan already through their TRICARE. So it is sort of important. Is like if they show up, one of those two people show up at your desk, you're yelping us over. As you probably picked up, if you have any inkling that something is not right, just call us over and we'll check it out, and we'll be able to steer it in the right direction.
What if you have somebody like come and call you over, but they come in, they have Medicare Advantage, and they say they want a D plan?
Yeah, that's where
Right.
this is what I would tell you as a counselor. Hey, okay, well, we're going to take a look at this. There's a lot of implications with this that we need to talk through. But to start things out, we still need to get the prescriptions in and check the prescriptions. So what you're trained to do is going to be step one anyhow. And then once we got those in and we can compare plans, then Lenore or myself or one of the others is sitting down and going, okay, let's talk through your situations and what the implications may mean doing this, and we'll help you through. It's not that you're not going to have a lot of clients like this, but it's not out of the question that you might have one show up at your desk like this.
They can't have a D plan if they're on a Medicare Advantage, right?
They can't hold both.
Right.
They may, and we had people, and it's some very specific situations with that this might be a viable option. They can change from their Medicare Advantage plan to a D plan. That's fine. It's just at the end of the day, starting January 1, they can't be on both.
Right. They'd have to go back to original Medicare, correct?
Right. And there are implications with that. And there are special circumstances that veteran counselors know about, certain timelines and certain situations, which either make it easier or harder for that to happen. So I don't expect you to know that, but I do expect you to do exactly what you just said is, hey, wait a second, there's something up here. And you raise my hand. Have somebody come over.
Are you saying that between this open enrollment appointment and the end of the year, even though they're on a Medicare Advantage, it could still, at least for a couple of months, be on D without any negative?
No. What I'm saying is that they could change to be on original Medicare starting January 1.
Oh, okay. And that's fine. Okay.
That's fine. But again, there's a lot of what if caveats that an experienced counselor will have to cooperate with you in that session. There's a lot you're going to be doing, but then there's pieces of it that a veteran counselor is going to be involved with. And it happens. Yeah, Catherine.
So my understanding, and I just Googled it, is that not all Medicare Advantage plans include a Plan D.
That's correct.
Which means that technically then you could have somebody come in who's on Medicare Advantage, a plan that doesn't include D.
Yes, that's correct. But they cannot. And I remember years ago, stop screening, it's a little bigger. Years ago, I had a lawyer come in who was new to Medicare, and he goes, I got a great plan. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a Medicare Advantage plan with no prescriptions because I like the healthcare thing in that, what I want to do. And then I'm going to get a Part D plan for my prescriptions. And I go, that's great, except you can't do that.
Got it.
The Medicare Advantage plans with no prescriptions are really designed for people who get their prescriptions through VA benefits.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah.
Or
but,
like TRICARE, or like an employer.
Well, if TRICARE, you're on original Medicare.
Okay.
You're not. Yeah. But yeah, and frankly, in all the years I've done this, I don't think I've seen a handful of people on a Advantage plan with no prescriptions.
Got it. I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Yeah. Just doesn't happen. So, okay. So we're down here. They get VA benefits, employer benefits, other employer benefits. And I don't really, there's not much that this would be. However, let's get to this thing. Status. Your work will always be complete because your job was to show them their options. If they choose to walk away going, I need to think about this, you have still completed your job, what you're doing. The only time we ever click in progress is when we're doing an appeal. So it's always going to be complete. The amount of minutes that you it's the amount of minutes that you're sitting there with them. And you kind of got to include in any prep work or work after, so you got to pad it a little bit. It needs to be in quarters of hours, so 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes or so. 60 minutes is going to be your average. 75 minutes if you're going over. We're not billing hours at a lawyer here. You're just getting the closest there. It's just for reporting purposes, but you've got to put it in at something. It's in minutes, and it's going to be by quarter hours. So it's okay. Notes. Yep. So look, it wouldn't even let me do anything without going there. Notes can be simple or complicated depending on it. For open enrollment, sometimes if it's just like, sometimes it gets stayed on same plan, or change plans to da 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 da. Or it could be complicated. Figured they might apply for LIS, sign them up for this plan. If they get the LIS back, then we'll do this. And that's, you can get complicated notes if there's a really complicated situation. We get complicated notes when we're doing new to Medicare or appeals or things like that. Sometimes in open enrollment, they're just simple notes.
Is this intended to be a summary that you always put in, or just only if it's something important?
No, you want to put something in. It could be a short 4 or 5 words. You want to put something in, because then it would show up over here saying, oh, you saw them on this date, purpose was open enrollment, they stayed on the same plan. Somebody can read that real quick later and go, okay, saw what happened. So, but if we're going some complicated stuff, then this is very helpful. But open enrollment, usually we're not into complicated things. So, but something in the notes is helpful. Now, this is where in here you're going to have a battery of checkboxes. Most of this stuff is irrelevant to you as an open enrollment counselor. However, Rebecca, one of our volunteer admin assistants, has also made a simplified thing for open enrollment. If you click on stayed on same plan, Part D plan, it will go through, and it won't show you on the screen, but it will go through in the computer and check every box that should be checked for stayed on same plan. Change Part D plan, it'll go through and check it all for you. So she made a shortcut that you could use 80% of the time. You could even go change Part D, but Randy came over, since Randy came over and talked about their Medigap policies, we could check some boxes for this. Now, let me walk it through very slowly because there are over half of the boxes on here that we will never check ever in the entire year. Medicare A and B, basically, if it has benefits explanations and eligibility, could be all that we talk about. Now, you guys will not be talking about, their A and B benefits all that much. It's only really if I rolled over and had to put something in. Almost nothing else in here is going to be talked about for A and B. Medigap policies, and as I cannot stress this enough, open enrollment is not necessarily for Medigap supplement plans. You can change or look at those anytime during the year. So, but somebody may have questions about it, and I've walked over and done some explanations for it. But again, application assistance, claims, billings, complaints, frauds, guaranteed issue right, maybe, that would show up. But non-plan renewal, those are not going to show up on there. Medicare Advantage plans, again, only if I've walked over and explained the benefits or eligibilities. Are we going to click those two boxes? Everything else is just not going to be there for you guys. Part D, if the person stayed on the same plan and you clicked on stayed on the same plan up there, the computer will click, you won't see it, but the computer will click these three boxes. And that's all you needed to click. If they change plans, it's also going to click enrollment and disenrollment for you. And that's all you would do. But if you clicked on the buttons up top, you don't even need to fill this out. LIS, if there's an application we've done, which again will be very rare, we're going to click that we did an application. Again, a lot of times, especially when you first start out, we'll be floating around and help answer some questions. Almost everybody you're going to deal with is not dealing in Medicaid. Other insurances, they're not going to be part of what you're doing. Obviously, if they came in and they had TRICARE for life and they were in the wrong place, I would tell you check that box when you get to this.
So if the buttons at the top automatically populate these, but you can't see what's happening, if you put in, say, TRICARE in that example, are you then stepping on whatever would be pre-populated, or is that going to? Are these additive?
These are additives. These are additive. Very good use for additives. Okay. These additional topics, they may come up. Somebody may want to know about their dental or vision, and you've called me over, Lenore over, and we've talked for a few minutes about how they go about their dental and vision. We can add that in there. That's a common one. Medicare cards, sometimes I have to say, if you set up their Medicare.gov account for them, that's an add-on. You can click here. You're not going to be seeing you to Medicare on that. Here might be the one that you get into if you've had to talk to them about GoodRx or something. You can click on the prescription discount cards. Right. At the end of the day, with the we would like boxes checked that should be checked. But in the end of the day, if you've checked this or this, stayed on the plan or changed plans, you've gotten done what actually is that we really need to have done. The rest of it is the add-ons we want to put in there that we're telling the state we set up their Medicare account, or we've talked to them about GoodRx or so. And if we didn't get those on there, it's not the greatest loss in the world, but it's helpful. So when you're filling these out, especially at the beginning, it's a good idea. You can ask us questions. As I said, most of the form is sort of self-evident coming along till you get to this page with all the boxes. And I used to, when we did this years ago and it was all in paper and all these check boxes were on the back of the sheet of paper, I highlighted the ones you were most likely going to be filling out. So it like got rid of all the crap. Probably ought to do that on this online form too. Like just make it so, the ones you're not going to be dealing with, which is over half of these, you're not needing to worry about. But again, feel free to ask questions when you're filling this out to make sure that we get it close. But it's not you got to fill something out, but it's if you hit those boxes at the top, you're going to get most of the way there. Okay. Again, not the end of the world with this one. When you hit next, now it's going to come up and this is your last page. And I'm obviously not going to hit submit because I didn't actually do something with Lenore, right? But some clients, not the ones you're going to be seeing for the most part, because if they need a printout of something, you're going to print it out for them there. But when we're doing Zoom or phone calls, sometimes those people need printouts sent to them, and that's when we check our box, and then the admins will be alerted, and they'll go in and get the documents that need to be printed out and mailed to the client. This won't be the case for you guys because you're going to be you're going to be able to print them out for them and hand it to them before they leave. So just letting you know what that box is there for. Okay. As I started out today is a lot of minutia mechanics and stuff. It's not the fun part of counseling. Fun part of counseling is helping the client. But this is just first, how do you read the client form? What do you do with the documents that you need to save from the clients? And then how do you fill out the form at the end? Repetition of this will make this easier. We've also learned, and it'll be new this year, is having a cheat sheet on the side of your computer saying this is the documents you save and this is where you put them to. That'll help make that a little easier. Because I did look back through last year's, and I'm going to say, because nobody here did this last year, yeah, we did a pretty bad job of getting those files set in there the right way. And we had to go back and correct a lot of them. So I think we'll do much better this year. George.
I had several questions. First, where online do we find the very handy research documents that you accumulate that make available to counselors? For example, the dollar limits on LIS, the various programs, or the list of dental plans and things like that, which we can share if the question comes up in the session.
Absolutely. Let me come back and I'll show you where all that stuff sits. Share. So I'm back at any client folder here. The file thing here, I'm in their intake. If I go to SharePoint, it'll bring up her stuff. However, if I then step back to documents, it'll have documents for Medicare counselors. And it has all those documents that you could pull out and print out. We need to clean this up from this last year's stuff. But if like that benefits eligibility, which will be on your desk, but there's your LIS numbers and everything.
Yeah. Okay.
And you can print that out. Yeah.
Yeah. So second question was, I previously had a client who, when I talked about GoodRx, they wanted to know, well, what's the deal with that? How did they do that? Who's behind it? Who's financing that or whatever? And I didn't have a clue. Could you give a quick, 10-second explanation of how that works? I mean, where is that money coming from, or the savings that they're offering?
Well, I'm going to come back. Let me pin that question and come back to it when we are sitting in front of the computer next time. Okay. So,
and last question is a follow-up from the last session. You mentioned something about the Amazon pharmacy, and I kind of missed it. Were you saying that the Plan Finder does not include or includes the Amazon pharmacy on the? It does include.
It does include it, and there is a walkthrough. I've got it actually in front of me. We were just cleaning it up. There's a walkthrough sheet that you will have available to how do you pull it up on the Plan Finder. This sheet is actually for a client if they want to use it. We could hand them this sheet as one of the documents, but really it's just the last paragraph or so is showing you how to do it on the Plan Finder. So you can look it up as any other pharmacy and add it to your pharmacy list.
And that sheet is one of the documents that is online, and
it will be. Yes, we're cleaning this one up, and we'll pull the old one up because that's a sheet that you could print out for, and a lot of sheets that will be good for to hand to clients. We'll keep stacks of them at the mall, and at the other thing where you can just get them and hand them out for that. There's another sheet. Find it that I'm going to show you next time. Let's see. There we go. Steve Sargent is one of our veteran counselors, and he has come up with a lot of brilliant ideas over the years. Here is one of the things that he did last year, and it was a little more, we've cleaned it up, made it look a little better. But he has made this little sheet that has like space for 3 clients where you could have at your desk and you could write some notes down ahead of time to help you just have sort of quick information with the clients. Some people love this and some people don't use this at all, but this will be available to you to be able to write this down. For me, because I've been doing it in the way I'm used to doing it, this doesn't really help me much. But I've watched other counselors who just love this, where before the day they've looked up their client and they've written down their clients for that day and have this information there. And then we just shred these at the end of the day, so we don't want this information just dancing around anywhere, thrown in the garbage. But so we shred these. But it does tell you, like, if you can't get back to doing the intake form real quick, you could write down how much money was saved, or whether they stayed on the plan or changed the plans, what the plan is they're going to, and the payment method, or whether it's Social Security or not. They could write those things down quick, and then when they come back to do their notes later, they have all that information available to them. It's a cute little. It's good. It's good. As I said, some people love it and use it. Some people don't, but we'll have those available to you too. There's lots of little helpful documents we try to make up we've got one document that just will help you figure out, how do I figure out how much money I saved? And it's really not that hard once you've done it so much, but we've made a little document to go, this is how you calculate it. And so we try to come up with it. But as I said, George, we are in that process of cleaning up that on the SharePoint, because it has a lot of last year's stuff on it. And we spent time last week and this week where we're going through and cleaning up making sure they're up to date.
So that's only from a client file that you can get to SharePoint?
The easiest way to get to SharePoint is to just hop through any random client and get there. So I guess when I want to get to it, I don't like to go find my bookmark. I just click on any client in the scheduler and go there.
Okay.
It doesn't even have to be my client. He's like, I guess I'm just trying to get there, but it's so fast to get there from the scheduler, which is something I have up all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. I've making sure in this group, I've sent it out a couple of times and sent it out again at the end of the week. People can get to the scheduler. Anybody tried to get to the scheduler and can't get to it? You, Barbara, you can't get to it, or you haven't tried? And you're moved.
I thought you were asking, had we gone into the schedule? I got it.
Oh, yeah.
I set up some, yeah.
Okay. I suggest that you guys get in there as soon as you can. Put yourselves in, because the admins are there scheduling people now, and it's, you know, we know we're going to have a lot more counselors in place to do clients. They're just not there yet, so we can't schedule until they're there. And we definitely, I've had one counselor in the past who was like going, oh yeah, I can do some tomorrow, and put themselves in. And I'm like going, you've just killed all the admins, because they're like now scrambling to death trying to get you clients for tomorrow, where if they had 2 weeks to get you clients, it was easy. So yeah, Terry.
Is there a tutorial to go with that scheduler? I looked at it, and I think I know, especially after talking today or hearing you talk today about how we're going to use the hyperlink. But I think I see where you just go in and put your name in on the slots that you want to sign up for, and then you're going to get clients assigned to you. That's pretty much how it works, right?
Yes,
there's a lot
that's
of
how it
tabs,
works.
but I just didn't.
Yeah, there's a
Okay,
lot of
all right.
tabs. Let me pull up the scheduler and share it and just show it one more time. It's one of those that becomes very natural to you after a while, but it's a little confusing to start with. So
Yeah,
the best way to navigate, I always say this, scheduler, is to start at the index here, which will,
Gotcha.
and every tab will take you back to the index. Wherever you are in the dates,
yeah.
if you go over, it'll take you back to the index. So from the index, you guys pick yourself what date you want to go to. And then it'll start here at the top with the studio, which is for the veteran counselors, and for you guys at the Fashion Square Mall. And you can click on anything, and you can start to type in your name, and it'll fill in, you know, auto fill in the rest there.
Okay.
Take you out, because sure enough, we'll have an admin schedule that while we're talking. So, and you will see early off, we will schedule couples in 2-hour slots so you guys get a rhythm. And then after, a week and a half or so, then we can probably start scheduling them for most counselors within an hour. So we'll have both of them within an hour, because a lot of it is you're repeating, you're just repeating the same things you're telling them. The only difference is you're checking out, getting their prescriptions set up. But a lot of the information you're telling them will be the same. Like Pam, so just fill yourself out here, and when you do, it loads it into the index and lets people know.
I see.
That they go, oh, I've got 6 in-persons open on this date, and now I can go and find out, okay, where are my in-persons? There we go. Tomorrow's got some there. And there's one here with Karen and one here with Michael, and they can start filling those out. And if I go to the to be scheduled, you will see that there's 340 people still waiting to be scheduled. So, So, as I said, in the end, we'll see 2,700 people. So,
All right, I'll put my net hours in and hope I pass my test.
I think
I will pass my test.
There's no way that you can't pass your test.
I know.
If you ask us questions.
I get it. Thank you.
Yeah. So, there we go. So my question was, everybody could get to the scheduler. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Let's make sure of that. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then if you are, we are got the next training coming up next week, where we're going to be in person at the Fashion Square Mall. in our space there, and that'll give you real hands-on with a computer, with some fake clients, putting some real drugs in, saving some files, doing all the mechanics that we were doing today. And so it'll all sort of hopefully coalesce together, all this information coming together there. So good. Okie dokie. Well, that's what I've got for you today.
Great.
I will stick around for any questions. The GoodRx. Oh, somebody put in the explanations of how GoodRx works, so that's good too. That's in the chat. I think James put that in there. So that will be helpful, but I'll go over that in the next training too. So, and GoodRx is not the only game in town with that, but it's the most commonly known one. So. Okay, well, thank you guys. I'll stick around, answer any other questions as people go through. But as far as today's training, we're good. We're done.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Randy.
I'm going to email you about because I'm out of town that week as well.
Yeah, email me and Lenore. We'll get it straightened out. Robert,
I'm out of town next week too, so
okay, good.
I will email you and let you know.
And Lenore will sit down. Lenore will sit down with you and let you practice through, and she'll show you all that stuff firsthand. So,
okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Randy.
Thanks.
Randy?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I sent you an email saying that I felt like I was in a hamster wheel with registering with the SHIFT program. But don't worry about it. I've got one. I got the acceptance in my email this morning, so let me go back and then I'll reach out again if I'm not set up by the end of the day today.
Okay, thank you, Terry.
You bet.
So I had a question, Randy. I
Barbara.
took the test on Friday and passed it, and I sent emails out, but I haven't gotten anything back, and I've had some issues with my email. Just want to make sure. I copied you on it. I just wonder if you got it, then they got it, and it's midday on Friday.
Yeah, let me okay. Ooh, okay. And sorry, my email just like popped crazy here. Let's see, we got Vicky here. Let me just go back to Friday. God, way too many emails. Okay, Barbara. Yeah, Barbara, I've had trouble with your email, and I think I finally got it straightened out. Which was, for some reason, I had the wrong email for a while. Let me look on Friday afternoon. Vicky's.
It's like 12:49. I sent the email on Friday.
12:49. 12:49. Barbara, there we go. I have got it, and Linda has got it. Linda was leaving. She sent me an email mid-afternoon that she was having to leave.
I figured you guys were conferencing, so I wasn't really concerned about it at all, but I just wanted to make sure.
She'll bounce it back today. She did bounce me back something else about somebody else today, so she'll get there.
And I'm leaving the country on Wednesday, and so just to confirm, I will send an email to you and Lenore asking for this kind of additional,
we'll set that up
where I can watch. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
You can sit down with Lenore, hands-on with Lenore. That'll be good.
And what is her email?
It's L Jordan, JORDAN @JABAcares.org.
At JABA Cares. Okay.
Yeah,
great.
if you get it to me too,
much.
and I don't see her, I'll forward it on to her. So
okay, perfect. I still, I was bummed that I missed questions on that exam because I did the research and I thought I had it, and I was like, well, what's wrong with this answer? But I couldn't find the answer. So it's
a stupid test.
Well, part of it is just my passion for learning and as an educator, I want to make sure. But you've done a great job with the training, so I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. All right. You have a lovely week.
You too. Okay.
Bye-bye.